What's up, everybody? Welcome to SnailMail.
SnailMail.
SnailMail. You're supposed to keep going. SnailMail. Okay. Maybe that's a new intro for SnailMail. Welcome, everybody. Friday episode, our favorite segment on the podcast, our most favoritist for all you grammar nerds out there. We get to listen to voicemails from you guys and then reply to them, or just shake our head in disappointment and move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can call us, and that phone number is area code 916-345-4744.
That's it.
And you can leave us a message, and we may or may not respond to it.
I like it. Do we reply? You'll never know.
Never know. It'll be weeks later.
We should just save one for like a year later and see what happens.
Next one, Adonis.
There we go. Okay.
Like, you didn't play my voicemail.
Yeah.
And I'll call in like repeatedly every day saying, you need to play my voicemail. Where's my voicemail? I need my voicemail.
Sorry, Donnie. We put it on the other podcast. You need to find that one to listen to it.
Yeah, that was a good episode, though.
It was, yeah. All right, so we have 11 voicemails to start off the day.
Oh, we're catching up. I'm excited.
First one is 3 back-to-backs from
Donnie.
Baily with Better Half Off-Road.
Oh, okay. Call him back. Cool.
Yeah, calling back. Did he already call once?
Yeah.
Or?
He's called before.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
He called 3 times.
I thought he was calling about suggestions or advice on how to deal with your significant other, because his title is Better Half Off-Road.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I thought he was calling about. And then he went off on some, I think he was talking about taps and stuff like that. So I was mistaken when I called it, but that's how I remembered.
Oh, I wonder if he's calling back to dive into more nerdy stuff about taps and machining.
But we did get an Instagram message before you start that. I'll pull this up.
Okay.
And it might cover some of Baily's, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
So Josh wrote in. Josh is on the Instagram interweb there. And he said, part 2 of my message to Tyler before I forget, but he hasn't accepted my invite yet. So he wrote
on
Tyler.
Instagram?
I don't,
okay.
Yeah, I got it. Maybe.
All right.
I don't. Maybe Facebook. Who knows? Tap stuff. The higher the ISO rating, the more pressure the molecules can take before breaking.
Okay. So that ISO rating, I assume, is on cutting oil containers?
Yeah, must be. Let's see. And then he says, this is what makes cutting fluid, or makes what cutting fluid, sorry. This is what makes cutting fluid.
The ISO rating. Okay.
It's usually ISO 200, and I believe car oil is around 40.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wonder if if cutting fluid is all about allowing you to put more pressure between your drill and your cutting surface, then does that mean so if you apply more pressure, how does that impact? Does everything work better if you apply more pressure?
You know who has that answer?
Baily?
Baily.
Okay, well, let's see. All right, here we go, Baily.
Hey guys, Baily with Better Half Off-Road again. Just recently listened to the snail mail episode. And I had no idea that the handhelds were more or less a consumable, especially within just a couple years. The current rugged radio handheld that I have is the old school style I bought back in 2015. It's more of the boxy style. In 2022, we went down to King of Hammers and ended up at the Rugged booth. And the guys at Rugged plugged in my radio and updated it to the, I say, newer school software is what I got out of talking to the guys there. Mm-hmm. And most of the people that I wheel with have the newer radios, the more of the roundish, smooth body. And I think it might be time for me to upgrade to a brand new radio, because it seems like everybody else can communicate a little bit better than I can with anybody. And we are also going to be going to a hardwire to an actual antenna. We all have them. We just have to set them up, and hopefully that will help out quite a bit. trying to remember everything else that you guys went over. The repeaters, I appreciate that information. I'm going to go back and listen to that episode. Got all the time in the world, just truck driver, so I can sit here and listen to podcasts all day long.
Snail truckers.
And yeah, we have definitely talked about going to full-blown head units. And yeah, I didn't realize that the antennas allowed you to get that much more out of a radio. I knew it helped a bit, but I didn't think it helped that much. So if I missed anything, I will call back, but I really do appreciate all the information. I think it's time for me to get a new radio. I've been limping this thing along longer than I guess it should be. You guys keep on crawling and have a good one. I'll chat with you later.
Ooh, radio talk.
We just did this.
I know, we could do more now.
No. Let's go back to the cutting oil conversation. I was hoping you'd be talking about Baily.
So first comment. Yes, the old style rugged radios, Freudian slip there, but it's true, are just rebranded Baofangs. They use all the same hardware components as the old Baofeng radios. And so really the transmitters are what's the most susceptible in those radios. And so just over time, they start wandering. They're not really transmitting on the correct frequency anymore. It'll say that it's on one frequency, but in actuality, it's really transmitting on a different frequency.
Or a broader
frequency. It's not the correct bandwidth anymore either. So just those transmitters are susceptible, and it seems like 2 to 3 years is their lifespan of the transmitters in those handheld radios. The new radios that Rugged has, the kind of the rounded ones he's talking about, I'm not sure about. I haven't gotten one. I haven't taken one apart. I haven't dug into it to look at the hardware and the circuit boards and everything in it. So I have no clue what kind of hardware they're running in that. It might be better stuff. I just don't know. However, all that they did when they plugged it into the computer at King of the Hammers was they flashed the programming, your channels, your memory channels. They didn't update any firmware of the radio. Because unless it is the same circuit board and the same memory components, motherboard of the radio, everything, unless all that stuff is the same, transmitter is all the same, you cannot use the same firmware, because your firmware is what tells the radio how all the hardware interacts. So if you're using a Baofeng firmware and flashing that into their new rounded radios, then that means all their rounded radios are the exact same hardware components as what the Baofengs were.
Wow.
Or are.
Okay.
So I highly doubt that it was a firmware flash. I think what they really did was they just uploaded the new memory channel list that they're putting in all their radios currently, because they got in big trouble with the FCC for having those old memory channel lists that they had in all the old radios.
Yes. That's what I was thinking it was going to be. Mm-hmm.
That's 90% sure that's what they did. 10% possibility of them actually swapping the firmware over and doing a firmware update. I just find that hard to believe, because it would have to be all the same hardware too.
Yeah, but sometimes you can do a firmware update with the same hardware if there's new programs that could be put onto the same old existing hardware.
Oh, 100% you can. But then that means that all the new rugged radios are just reboxed Baofeng UV5Rs that are still going to be susceptible to all the transmitter issues.
Right.
So, and I would hope that rugged radio didn't do that, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't hold a lot of hope for that company. Just because I know what they're doing with radios, and I don't believe that it's right on what they're doing with radios.
Got it.
But I have hope that they would have learned their lesson after getting becoming a target of the FCC so many times.
Yeah.
So
one would think,
at least if they don't care about it, like what they're really doing, I honestly don't think they really care about what they're doing with radios. I think that the only reason why they care is so that they don't get hit by the FCC anymore.
Right. They're just trying to dodge the bullet.
Exactly. So, anyways, yes. Get a new radio and get a hardwired radio.
Yeah.
If you're off-roading and going off grid a lot, hardwired radios, we did the math on a previous episode. It might've been the episode where he called in on before. but we did the math on comparing a 50-watt hardwired radio with a good antenna to a little handheld 5-watt radio. We did the math on the effective signal power that comes off of that antenna, right? And it was like 10, 20 times more, something like that, whatever it was.
It was a lot.
It was a lot more. So getting a hardwired radio and setting it up is by far and away, you are going to see a massive, massive increase in signal performance.
Absolutely.
So if you can do it, absolutely do it. The hardest part of setting up a hardwired radio is figuring out where to put the antenna. That's really the hardest part. So
yeah, maybe for some, I just put it where my antenna goes.
Yeah, but we had to create a custom bracket for it.
Yeah,
we had to figure it all out. Like, I don't know.
And a lot of people don't want to drill through their roof or anything like that.
That's I think the big thing is people don't want to drill through their roof. So finding a better place to put their antenna without drilling through the body, holes through the body, that's the hard part.
And I like having my handheld and my mobile radio. I like using both because if you get out of the rig, then you're going to grab the handheld.
Yep.
If you're in the rig, you turn the handheld off and you just use the mobile one.
Yep.
So it's nice to have both.
Yep. So cool. Thanks for calling in, man. Let me know if you have any questions on the radio stuff as you're looking to get a radio or trying to figure out where to put antennas, blah, blah, blah. So I like nerding out over that.
Called back 2 more times?
He called back 2 more times.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see more radio stuff.
Just turn off here.
Well, last episode, I think we said you can just go grab lunch for 3 hours and come back.
That didn't work, did it?
No.
I still talked for about an hour.
All right. Baily called back. Let's hear what he's got.
Hey, guys. Baily with Better Half Off-Road again. I want to talk about something a little bit different. I know we're getting to that kind of time of year where everybody might be starting to think about going back to King of Hammers. We are planning on going back for 2026. And I just want to share a little bit about our first trip ever there, which was 22. And first time ever going there, great time. Had a few friends that told us exactly where to camp because it was the best spot, no wind, over by Turkey Claw. And the event is amazing. I can't wait to go back. But we're coming all the way from Washington, and obviously it's not a short drive. We did it straight through, 4 people deep in a 4-door Duramax gooseneck with 2 Jeeps on it. And yeah, we just took turns driving. It is definitely a long drive. The whole way down, completely smooth, had 0 issues. But people who have not been to King of Hammers before, if you are taking a long drive, be prepared for anything and everything to happen. Because the drive there was smooth as can be. The drive home, not so much. Ended up leaving early in the morning. We got up out to about Tehachapi just before heading towards Bakersfield, and the driver rear tire came off of the truck while going down the freeway at 65 miles an hour. And, truck landed down on the hub. Truck and trailer went sideways. Luckily was able to correct it and get it off to the side of the road. But that put us back about 4 or 5 hours, having to take a vehicle about an hour into town, find most of the parts, steal parts off of the Jeeps that are on the trailer. Luckily, they all have 1-ton axles. We're able to take some studs because a bunch of studs broke. That's how the tire ended up coming off. The hub was savable. But that wasn't even the worst part. Finally get almost to the top of the hill to Tehachapi, if anybody's familiar with that area, coming up and over, and the water pump goes out. So we end up having to drive all the way to Harbor Freight, which was about an hour from that point, and getting tools right before they closed, just to be able to get the socket, because we didn't have the right size socket for the water pump, or not the water pump, it was for the clutch fan, I believe, or the crank pulley. Ended up getting that all squared away, started hitting the road again at, I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. So we did a full water pump and everything. And then we carried on our way. So a 22-hour drive turned into
getting cut off.
I know, right? Finish that sentence for him. Holy crap, dude.
Dude.
Holy moly. That reminds me of your trip back from Moab. That
Almost. Yeah.
Oh my God. One comment.
Okay.
Chevy. Should we listen to the when he called back?
Continuing on, yes.
All right, I want to hear the rest of the story. So before we make more comments, let's see what you got.
Baily was better half. Must have gotten set off talking too long. But yeah, 20-something hour drive turned into 40 plus hours, and we ended up driving one of the Jeeps about eight hours straight through California just because we were worried about having the extra weight with the Jimmy rig repair on the hub, driving from Southern California all the way back up to Central Washington. So, yeah, anybody that's looking to go to Hammers, especially if it's your first time, if you've been there, you know what it's about. And the journey is not just about being there. Most of the journey is getting there and getting home, depending on where you're coming from. So make sure to prepare and go with plenty of friends that know how to work on some stuff. Y'all keep crawling, and maybe I'll see you guys down at Hammers in 2026.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I take a Hussman with me wherever I go.
Fix it, sir.
Hey. Oh, that's fucking crazy.
That's nuts. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I mean, but he's absolutely right. If you're going on a long trip, I mean, I hear people that are like, oh, no, it's no problem going on a long trip with my crawler because I have a trailer, right? So if something breaks on the crawler, I just put it on the trailer to get home. Mm-hmm. But what happens when your tow rig or your trailer breaks?
Yeah.
I love the guy, but our sales manager here, Ozzy, who's Australian, is a staunch believer in not carrying tools with him.
Sure.
Because he has a very well-built buggy, and he had a really well-built Jeep.
Yep.
However, you never know when shit's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And your rigs may be really well maintained and you may have good stuff, but something inevitably sometime is going to happen.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have tools with you, what are you going to do? You're going to go to a Harbor Freight right before they close and buy some.
I carry 170 some odd piece toolkit in my new Tacoma. Just because.
Yep.
It's like I have to move it around once in a while if we're carrying more than 4 people or more than 3 people. But if I ever need it, it's there. Yep. If somebody else ever needs it, it's there. There's been a few times when it's like we're just out at a normal, car camping thing, and we just need some tools for some odd thing, and I have them.
There you go.
It's just nice to have some extra tools.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet you they had tools. It just sounded like they needed a specific tool.
socket.
Yeah. Man, that sucks. And there's not much you can do to plan for that, especially the wheel falling off. Yeah. I mean, maybe you should check the lug nuts before you always leave. And, I check it usually before a big trip, but then I don't really check it ever again.
Yeah. Usually if I'm going on a more than a 10-hour trip somewhere, I will do a much more thorough nut and bolt check on everything I'm taking.
Absolutely.
It's like each year when we go to Moab, I do a complete thorough nut and bolt check on the tow vehicle, the trailer, and the crawler.
Yeah.
And so that's really the only way. Typically, if you have sheared studs on your wheel, that means your lug nuts were not completely tight. And so I don't know if that was the case with them or just had a freak accident. But it's just one of those things. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money to play in this hobby that we play in.
Absolutely.
And no matter how much time, effort, money you spend in this hobby, shit is always going to happen to you at some point.
Yes.
So, go prepared, have a fail-safe plan for stuff. And part of the journey is definitely sometimes getting to the trails.
Well, that sounds like overlanding.
That sounds, right. Remember the Nissan team that went to King of the Hammers and went through like 7 trailer tires or something like that on their way out from the East Coast?
Yes. Nuts.
Yeah.
Well, dang. I'm glad it all eventually worked out. I'm glad you guys all got home. Thank you for sharing the story. And I do encourage people to
check your nuts.
You check your nuts. Go prepared. Maybe don't try to blast it all in one day. And or after long trips like that, like after driving home from Moab, it takes 16 hours for us to cruise all direct one way all the way home from Moab.
Yep.
Like I don't plan anything the next day.
No,
because one, I'm going to be tired.
Yep.
Two, I might not make it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to plan anything. Have something scheduled. There's, I tell like my wife, I'm going to be home. I'm planning on taking the mini assistant to school.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not there, that means I'm not there.
Yeah.
You got to do those things.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents.
Yep. I like it. Thanks for calling in, Baily, and telling us about that story. It's definitely, if you're coming from a ways away, I mean, even for us, we're driving 8 hours, 9 hours, maybe down to Hammers. I still take everything. And I'm well over prepared and over packed for mechanical failures.
Yeah, I just bring a lot of PB and H's.
There you go. Exactly. Sit on the side of the road. Tyler, somebody, husband.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have a Jeep, so you don't have to worry about drilling a hole in your roof. You can just put it on that spare tire thingy in the back.
Exactly. Yep. Just put it through your spare tire.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect. And then glue tread it. Shut.
Funny. Anyways, let's get into one from Brian from the Bay ?
Okay. I think he's called in before too.
I think he has too.
Yep.
So what Brian's got to say today.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Brian from the Bay. I've just been listening to your episode about the campfire discussion about what stock vehicle would be like the best vehicle to bring out there. And oh man, I just gotta say, from the bottom of my heart, I just love how much you guys are squirming having to say that a Jeep Rubicon would be the better option. I could see you like twisting and turning and trying to like contort your logic to pick something else, but it ended up being a Rubicon all the same. Keep crawling, guys.
Jeep and Jimmy, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Brian owns a Jeep.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
No, it's, I mean, buying something from the factory, really the Rubicon for rock crawling applications, I really do think a Jeep Rubicon is the best way to go. Do I think it's the best way to go if you want to stay in the rock crawling hobby forever? I don't think so. But if you're looking to just buy something that's quick, ready to go as much as it can be, you don't have to do any work to, Jeep Rubicon's a great option.
Yeah.
Just empty your Affirm account. So
there you go. Yeah. And to some extent, I always laugh at the people that will buy a Jeep Rubicon and then do axle swaps.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, if you're going to do that, then you have a wide variety of all these other vehicles out there that you can do axle swaps on.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have a Jeep at that point because you're going to be changing the axles anyway.
Yeah. At that point, you just want the ducts that show up on your Jeep when you stop at Walmart. So
because I mean, not that Toyota has much leg room at this moment. I was going to say the engines in Jeeps aren't the most reliable right now. The engines in Toyotas aren't that hot either.
Yeah.
And have you heard the new 2024 Tacomas are having transmission issues?
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yep. And so what I've heard about that is that there was an issue at the factory with the Tundras when they weren't cleaning the engine out well enough. There was still shavings inside the engine. And I hear that's the same thing in the transmission for the Tacoma.
From the machining process?
From the machining process. It all happened during the same time period. And that solution has happened, but this is just the parts are now being used for that from that period.
Jerry went to work drunk again.
Dang it, Jerry.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a bummer.
That's what I've heard about that. But yeah, I mean, you can't argue with it. Off of the factory floor, a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon is hands down the best rock crawling stock vehicle out there.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep.
Anyways.
Beep, 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 beep.
All right. We got a caller called in twice.
Okay.
So let's do him, Marty. Our mystery Dana 44 guy. Is this the wizard? Oh, I'm curious if this is the wizard on Instagram that I don't know who he is, but he replies to everything. And
I don't know.
Made fun of my leaf blower issues.
Maybe.
All right. Let's see. Marty, mystery Dana 44 guy.
Okay. Bring it on.
This is Marty, your mystery Dana 44 guy. The different JKs do have high pinion. Dana 44s in the front. The difference is where the pinion's pointed on a stock JK versus on a stock Super Duty. It's pointed higher in relation to your the angle of your C's on a Super Duty. The Chevy 10s and 12 bolts had C-clips in the rear. Chevy 12 bolt rears are good. I got aftermarket shafts for Shannon Campbell on his Pinky when he ran a 12 bolt truck rear. But in the front, there's no C-clips on any of those except for a twin traction beam Dana 44 out of a Ford that I believe has a C-clip. And that's not really pertinent to what you're doing and talking about. But anyway, I'm sure I'll call in again. Keep crawling.
Nice. Thanks for calling, Marty. Yeah, the Dana 44. Good to know that the 44 JK is a high pinion.
Yes.
Apparently higher pinion angle up towards your transfer case, which makes sense because it's a shorter distance to your front axle from your transfer case on those.
Yes, it is. They're a shorter vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing that he confirmed was the C-clip on the 10 or 12 bolt, the Chevy 10 or 12 bolt axles. And he said that both of them had a C-clip, but that the 12 bolt was a good axle.
Okay.
Which I disagree. Any axle with a C-clip on it is not a good axle for rock crawling, in my opinion.
Not what we want.
No. So, yeah, call back in. I apparently, it sounds like he has some good information. So,
well, he did call back in.
Oh, that's right. Hey, look at that. Marty listening already.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks for calling back.
All right.
The wizard. What was it? Marty from Marty
Dana 44. That's what he named himself in the second one too.
Okay.
His
Mystery.
name on Instagram is The Wizard.
Are you sure it's that
something.
guy?
I don't know.
Okay. There is a guy named The Wizard that always responds to us, but we have no idea who he is.
Yes.
And we're going to point it at Marty. We think it's Marty.
Yeah, we're
blaming the wizard on Marty.
There we go.
Or vice versa.
All right, here we go. Marty, the Dana 44 guy.
This is Marty, Dana 44 guy, part 3. The Tremec, it's geared at a 6.16-ish first, but it's not a granny gear. A granny gear is a compound low. The power flow on this is like a traditional stick shift, and it's got a synchro in first. So I drive it like a 4-speed around town. On my 37s now, it's about 2,000 RPMs at 70. It's okay. It's not ideal, but it's good enough. And it'll still go 90 miles an hour in fourth if need be. If I jump to big 38s, I will probably just not use fifth gear and drive it like a 4-speed. But it's not like an old T18 or an SM465 where that first gear is not usable except from a dead stop. So I highly recommend it for, ever having driven at about 20,000 miles on that transmission. I had another issue, but I can't remember. So keep crawling. I'm old. It'll come back to me.
Right
Nice.
on.
Which transmission was the Tremec?
I don't remember, but now things are starting to come back into. I was like, this is the second time you've called in.
Yeah.
But he called in a while ago to do some Dana 44 talk. And then he started telling us about his rig. And he said he had this crawler, or he has a really low first gear transmission he added. And we figured it was like a granny gear, but it doesn't sound like it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that granny gears did not have synchros.
They're just straight cut. That's what it sounded like.
So it's what it sounds like to me from what he said.
Okay.
Because he said the other point about granny gears is you can only really use them from a dead stop, which means they're straight cut and they don't have a synchro because you can't really go down into first gear while you're moving to slow down kind of thing to decelerate. Maybe just because they're so low that you don't really want to, you know, it's because it'll just, your RPMs will be way out there, out the roof. Window one of your cylinders.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, it's cool. I good information, good stuff. So he's a tremec transmission, and it's 616 first gear.
That's pretty wild.
Cool. Is that the Samurai ones? No, that's the transfer case in Samurais are that low. He's saying his first gear and his transmission is 616. That's impressive.
What's it called?
A tremec transmission is what he called it.
So a tremec looks like a completely aftermarket transmission. Like it's not out of anything.
Interesting.
It's just a company that
makes different transmissions. Okay.
Yeah, because it just is like, you want to be a dealer, you want this product, here's these things, here's some applications for it. So it sounds like it's a customizable, semi-customizable transmission.
Maybe they have like different gear ratio options for each of your shift points or your yeah, right?
I mean, I would love to be able to tweak transmission gears a little bit. Because I do feel that in my Tacoma that the 6th gear is too low. So I'm not low enough in RPMs. I want to be lower on RPMs in my highest gear for cruising down the freeway. I feel like I'm still too high on RPMs in my overdrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like 2 overdrives because 5th gear is not far off from 6th gear.
Yeah.
So it's like 5th gear I cruise around on the streets with still.
Yeah.
Like I'm just, so 6th gear on the freeway I'm still like, I can still pull away from people.
Yeah.
No, I want that to be like, I'm barely able to keep up and I'm just
coasting,
cruising.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not. So that'd be rad to have a company that you can like, here's our transmission. We can create a bell housing that fits anything. We can create the output that goes to, whatever drive shaft you need.
Yep.
And we can customize the inside.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
That'd be a rad company.
It's like a 6-speed transmission, and you have 3 different gear options for each of the gears.
Yeah, pretty much.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's neat. That's good stuff. Marty, keep calling back, man.
Yeah. I don't think he's the wizard anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he might still be.
I don't know. Anyway, should we call it there today?
Yeah, I think that's good.
We got through over half of them. We got 5 left now.
Cool. You guys need to call in so we don't catch up.
Yeah, if we catch up, we have to cancel Fridays.
I guess. Yeah.
That's
that was the whole reason.
I know, right?
We did these because we weren't able to catch up.
Yeah.
So if we catch up, I guess we'll just have to do them in our normal Thursday episodes.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for today. Give us a call, guys. We love hearing from you. We love the voicemails. So 916-345-4744. And excuse me. That was weird. Sucked in fuzz off the microphone. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So call in. We love hearing from you guys.
We out.
Out we.
Out we.
Out we.
Out we. Out we.